I wanted to bring up Jim Ross, who obviously, we've all done a show together, the three of us, back in 2016 in London, where Bret Hart came out at the end, and someone almost fell off the balcony because they were so surprised. But thankfully, we had insurance, just in case. Anyway, JR is on commentary in AEW, and they've now cut him down to part of Dynamite and Rampage. He does tend to get names wrong fairly often now, but I mean, with JR, do you think, is the way that they're using him the best way to utilize him? Should they be doing something else with him? What would you do with JR in AEW right now if it were up to you?
Well, and first of all, here's the thing. Everybody, he got his name wrong. He's not calling Chris Jericho Kenny McIntosh. He's calling Claudio Castagnoli Cesaro, because that's been his name for the past 10 years, or Ruby Riott. JR not only worked for the company and knew them by those names and worked with them and called them multiple times. I still have to think, when I think Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, Dan Bry, I don't. So I can see that happens. It's live TV and shit takes place. The other people on that announce position didn't know those people by different names. So that, and I'm not just taking up for JR on that, but I've heard it about several different commentators and several different companies. Well, he called so-and-so such. That's because that was their name for 10 fucking years, right? I felt the same way in TNA is when I noticed this. There was a trend where the guys started calling each other by their real names instead of their gimmick names in the locker room. And I had never experienced anything like that before. This was 12 years ago. We were having a finish meeting with two tag teams, and they said it was the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. They were in another team, and they kept calling each other by their real names. I said, "Give me your finish," and they said, "Well, boo, 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 boo." I said, "Wait a minute, who the fuck are you talking about? I don't know who you're talking about. Who are you people?" And so anyway, so it can happen. Having said that, I mean, JR, I don't think he has the patience to deal with these whiny little crybabies that get upset. Remember the time somebody asked him in an interview, who's the greatest wrestler, best wrestler in the world? He said, well, be hard to argue with Randy Orton. Fucking Twinkle Toes had his minions tweeting hashtag I stand with Omega. And everybody had to say that Omega was the best wrestler in the world. And then the Young Bucks, they were fucking butthurt because, every time that JR mentions FTR, arguably the greatest tag team in the world, excrement, Sockface has to jump in and say, what about the Young Bucks? Yeah, them too. He's tried to fucking give them advice. And I heard that, what was this, 6-7 months ago, people are mad because JR said shit on Twitter that they said, well, he should have said that to the people personally instead of saying it on Twitter. I know JR. I have a feeling he probably said that to those people 2 or 3 times before he said it out in public. They just didn't listen. So you got a guy that's seen the best wrestling in the world for the past 50 years, made it his life, and he's sitting there watching either stupid shit or dangerous shit or embarrassing shit take place. And he shows up at that company when he's had skin cancer radiated off his leg. He's had all kinds of health issues. He's 70 years old. He's still showing up to do his job. And sometimes I can tell you, when you're an announcer and that shit's going on in front of you, you can't really do anything about it. You're going to have to get shit on you by sitting there and talking about it. And I'm sure he doesn't like that. And we haven't even in this interview talked about the fact that besides the fact some of it's stupid and some of it's fake and some of it's silly and some of it don't make sense and some of it's with talent that has no business on national television, most of it is dangerous as fuck. And that's why all of their wrestlers are injured and hurt and getting surgery and fucking broke down. And he's probably mentioned that to them a number of times. Well, maybe that moonsault off the top rope through a table where you don't even look at the opponent that you're trying to land on for the 15 seconds before you jump, maybe that shit just goes by and people don't care from week to week. Maybe you ought to get them to remember you and what you say and what you as a person are like, instead of, oh, he jumped off the roof. Because everybody's fucking killing themselves. Darby Allin, you got to admire the charisma he's got, but he's a mental incompetent. You know, so I'm sure that JR probably is rolling his eyes verbally at a lot of this stuff, and he sounds grumpy. And I can't blame him. I wouldn't still be there. The last time I saw JR in person before the pandemic was fall 2019 at Charlotte Fan Fest, right before AEW went on the air. And he walked in. I said, "You've signed with them?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You know what you're going to be looking at, don't you?" He's looking at me. He didn't, I don't think, pay a ton of attention to, you know, he knew Omega and he knew who the Young Bucks were, but I don't think he knew what he was going to be looking at, the type of talent they were going to start out with, because they hired all their friends, the foolishness that was going to be on the show. He was very optimistic, and he loves announcing, or he used to. So at that time, he was like, corny, it's, you know, it's a gig, you know, it's a good money, good contract. I'm excited, good show. Yeah. Well, there you go.
God damn it, you gotta sing, do anything. I hate these fucking airplanes, I just want to die. I want to die. Oh, we're in an airplane. You don't want to die on an airplane, and they don't want to hear that you want to die on an airplane because they don't know who you are. He said, well, sing to me. Sing to you. You know, anything. I just need to hear you talk and noise, and that's so it can calm me down. Like my singing, nobody's ever heard. I saw you knocking at my cellar door. I think that was a good lyric. You asked me, baby, can I have some more? No, now it's okay. Shit, that's not gonna happen. See, they think we're gay lovers. They're thinking my cellar door is something that wasn't supposed to be, and that he asked me if he could have some more. It's the things we go through. So anyway.